Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that changed the world forever, the history of America. But this is not going to be just a list of dates and events. No, this is the story of people, dreamers, fighters, rebels, and thinkers who shaped a land into one of the most powerful nations on earth. Let's begin from the very start. Long before Christopher Columbus set sail in 1492, the land we now call the United States was already full of life. More than 600 different Native American tribes lived across the continent, each with their own languages, traditions, and deep connection to nature. The Iroquois built strong confederations. The Pueblo people created complex irrigation systems in the desert. And the Mississippian civilization built massive cities like Cahokia near present-day St. Louis that had more people than London in the 1200s. Yes, long before skyscrapers and presidents, this land already had thriving societies and ancient wisdom. Then came 1492. Columbus arrived in the Caribbean believing he had reached Asia. His discovery would start a chain of events that would forever change the lives of millions. Within just a century, the Spanish, French, Dutch, and English had established colonies across North America. But life in those colonies wasn't as glorious as it may sound. Survival was hard, winters were deadly, and relationships with Native Americans were filled with both trade and tragedy. In Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English colony, settlers nearly starved to death during the first few years. They only survived because of a crop that would soon shape the economy of the entire continent: tobacco. As years passed, British colonies grew, but something else grew too: the desire for independence. Imagine living in a land thousands of miles away from your ruler, paying taxes to a king you had never seen. That was the life of early Americans. When Britain started imposing taxes, well, like the Stamp Act and Tea Act, people had enough. And so in 1773, a group of colonists threw an entire shipment of British tea into Boston Harbor. That moment, known as the Boston Tea Party, was not just about tea. It was a declaration: we will no longer be controlled. 3 years later, in 1776, the colonies declared independence, and a young nation was born with words that would echo for centuries, greater than, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." But that dream came with a price: a brutal revolutionary war against the British Empire. The war was long, bloody, and uncertain. Farmers became soldiers. Ordinary men fought one of the strongest armies in the world. And yet, they won against all odds. In 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States. The Constitution was written, creating a system of democracy that would inspire nations for generations. But even in this new land of freedom, not everyone was free. Millions of African people had been enslaved and brought to America to work on plantations. Their suffering is a deep scar in the nation's history, one that would take centuries to begin to heal. As the new century began, America started to grow fast. Through deals like the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, the country doubled its size overnight. Explorers like Lewis and Clark mapped out the unknown West, meeting countless native tribes along the way. And by the mid-1800s, people were racing westward, chasing gold, land, and opportunity. But expansion also brought pain, especially for Native Americans who were forced from their lands in what became known as the Trail of Tears. Thousands died along the way. It's one of the darkest chapters in American history, a reminder that progress often comes with a human cost. By the 1860s, America was tearing itself apart. The question was simple yet explosive: should slavery continue? The southern states said yes. The northern states said no. The result was the Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in American history. Over 600,000 people lost their lives. But from that darkness came hope. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in the Confederate States. 2 years later, the war ended and slavery was officially abolished. Lincoln once said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And from those ashes, America began to rebuild. By the late 1800s, the U.S. transformed again. Factories, railroads, and cities exploded across the land. Immigrants from all over the world, Ireland, Italy, Germany, China, came seeking a better life. They worked in mines, built railroads, and filled the cities with new cultures, languages, and dreams. But behind the success stories were the struggles of the poor, the long work hours, and the fight for workers' rights. This was the era of both invention and inequality. As the 20th century began, America became a global power. It fought in World War I and helped shape the modern world order. But it wasn't all glory. The Great Depression in the 1930s shattered millions of lives. People lost jobs, homes, and hope, standing in long lines just for a piece of bread. Yet from that struggle came resilience. When World War II began, America not only joined the fight, it became the symbol of freedom against tyranny. Factories that once made cars now built tanks and planes. Women entered the workforce in record numbers. And by 1945, the United States emerged as one of two superpowers. For the next 40 years, America lived in tension with the Soviet Union. There were no direct battles, but the fear of nuclear war shaped a generation. During this time, Americans witnessed incredible achievements, from the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. to landing a man on the moon in 1969. It was a time of both fear and progress, of protests and pride. The late 20th and early 21st centuries brought rapid change, technology, globalization, and cultural revolutions. The internet connected the world. American music, movies, and ideas spread to every corner of the planet. But with progress came new challenges: political division, social inequality, and the constant struggle to live up to the ideals written in 1776. So what truly defines America? It's not just power or wealth. It's the idea that anyone from anywhere can start with nothing and build something great. It's a land of contradictions, freedom and injustice, courage and fear, dreams and failures. But through it all, America keeps moving forward. Maybe that's the real story of America, not perfection, but perseverance. Because every generation has had to fight, to rebuild, and to redefine what freedom really means. Thank you for watching this journey through time, the untold story of America. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories about our world's past and future. See you in the next video.